Senator Manchin, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you all. I'm so sorry I had another meeting I had to speak at, and I'm sure you probably covered this in generality, but I'd like to ask the questions again. First of all, I think what I'm hearing loud and clear is if we have laundry that is dirty and need washed, don't do it in the public when the military is involved. I'm hearing that loud and clear, which probably any time we have military conversations or disagreement, it should be done in the skiff with all 100 of us there so we can talk about it to each other and how we come out of there unified. So that's a clear message you're giving us, and you ought to continue to give that. I feel very strongly about that. Next of all, I'd like, Dr. Lin, I'll start with you. First of all, does the Taiwanese have the ability to defend themselves against mainland China to be independent? And if not, would they have the ability with the United States' help? And if it took the United States' help, would we have any allies coming with us to defend Taiwan the way that they have come together in Europe on Ukraine?
Thank you, Senator, for the question. So to be frank, Taiwan would not be able to stand by itself.
It cannot defend itself, no matter what we do, no matter what equipment we give them.
When you're talking about a large-scale invasion, given the vast power disparities that China can bring to bear, Taiwan would not be able to stand alone.
Okay.
Yes.
Can they do it with our help? Are we able to deter that, or just basically prolong it?
Yes, so I think that is what the department is focused on with Taiwan as the pacing scenario, to make sure that the United States can be able to flow enough assets and have the right both posture, capabilities, as well as operational confidence.
I'm understanding there's a little bit of a difference of what we believe that they would need to defend themselves and be successful versus what they desire to have.
So when Taiwan thinks about its defense needs, it's thinking not only about the high-end contingency of the Chinese invasion, it's also thinking about the day-to-day gray zone incursions that China is flying into Taiwan's air defense identification zone. So from their perspective, they need to cover all the different threats.
Okay. And how about allies? Which allies would come to the defense that look at Taiwan and the commitment other than the U.S.? I have not heard of other allies believing that it's of national interest to them to go and fight or support a Taiwanese war against China.
So we are increasingly hearing from Japan that the defense of Taiwan is also vital to Japanese national security, and that's why the critical national security documents, the new documents that came out in December from Japan's end, reflect the seriousness that Japan takes for its problem.
How about South Korea?
I would put South Korea lower than potentially Australia and other. So Japan, I would put
Japan the highest.
Australia. South Korea would be a bit lower than that.
Okay.
And the Philippines would probably be somewhere between Australia and South Korea.
And we're putting much effort in the Philippines right now trying to build that up. Okay. And Dr. Hill, Ukraine. Does Ukraine have the ability to fight and win the war to take back the Donbass and also Crimea?
Well, it's not just Donbass and Crimea, it's also these other two regions as well of Kherson and Zaporizhia.
I mean, basically putting their country back.
It very much, as we've been talking before, depends on the provision of military assistance from the United States and other allies, and also a diplomatic effort too. I mean, I think you're just primarily on the battlefield, it's going to be extraordinarily difficult because, you know, we've already had a discussion about how much the Russians have dug in at this particular point. So we need to have diplomacy pushing alongside the military. I can't honestly say about whether it's feasible for Ukraine. There's differences of opinion in the United States, UK, and among other European allies.
Are you all gauging the support of the Russian citizens towards this fight? They believe it's an honorable fight, it's a needed fight, it's one that they have to put their country and take back?
This is being put to the test. What Putin's trying to tell the Russians at the moment is this is the third patriotic war. After Napoleon's invasion, Nazis' invasion, I mean, this is ridiculous, of Russia, the Soviet Union, in the Second World War. Now this is the next invasion.
Really?
I don't think all Russians are buying this. We've seen 1 million people leave. And I'm not convinced myself that another additional 500,000 people are willing to be sacrificed on the front lines of what is, to some extent, a vanity project for Vladimir Putin.
And you think the Ukrainians have the willpower and the people power to continue this fight?
They certainly have the willpower. The people power is under some stress at the moment because of the sheer numbers that Russia is trying to push to the battlefield. We're aware of that, which is why, as Mrs. Akheim has been saying, it's very important to outweigh that with equipment. But again, diplomatic support is going to be crucial. It won't be just won on the battlefield, this war for
Yeah,
Ukraine.
but diplomatic, I'm always concerned that the United States might intervene or the Europeans put so much pressure on to go to the negotiating table, and Putin's going to walk away with a win no matter if he loses, he'll walk away with a propaganda win.
I have exactly the same concerns, which is why we have to really step up our diplomacy with other countries to make very clear how unacceptable it is to have Putin get away with what is a violation
My final
of
part, 'cause I'm running
international
out of time, I know, I'm so
Yeah.
sorry, if I may, sir. Basically, the will for our allies to stay into this fight, are they going to be forced back as energy independence or energy security or a lack of it or a need of the Russian energy, cheap energy they've had before? Is that going to force maybe this to a table or to a resolve prior to where it needs to be?
This is much less of a factor than it was before. I think actually you'll find that Europeans' resolve is much stronger than perhaps is often seen from here.
Thank you so much.